This is the video clinic for exercise number 6 from the Max Pottag book, Preparatory Melodies for Solo Work. The features of this particular exercise is it requires you to have overall dexterity with your finger-tongue coordination as well as rapid-fire tonguing. One of the things that will be your best asset is going to be consistent use of air. One of the things that I recommend you do is do this slowly, but then slur as much as you can. One of the things that I found with students that have difficulty with this, they're not keeping the energy going and a lot of notes are ghosted. Notice that I do have the subdivision set. What I would like for you to do is slur almost everything as you can. Even there, that was a little glitch. Takes a little bit more energy to get to that G. So think ta-ha. And so forth like that. You'll readily see which notes need more energy. Usually it's going to be your lower notes. As a rule, anytime you have any type of slurred passage, whether it's 2 notes or 7 notes or whatever, the second note of any slur really should get an additional puff of air, literally thinking ta-ha. It'll help not only get that second note to speak, but in doing so, the succeeding notes will almost always come out better. So when I'm doing this slowly, I'll think ta, ta-ha, ta, ta-ha, ta, ta, ta-ha, ta. So forth like that. Even when I get to the next, I'll give a little bit of juice on that B. Another thing that you can do to help illustrate how much air that you need is blowing an air pattern. Ideally, if you can whistle, this would be even better. You'll see when you try to whistle or blow an air pattern going down, you have to use almost twice as much air to get those notes to come out. And that's very important in this particular exercise. Notes go down, need more energy. There are 3 rules of using air. Notes go down, need more air because they will sound softer. So in other words, to counteract that natural tendency, use more energy as you go down. Notes that go up also need more air so that you can keep the air tube that you're blowing at the same dimension rather than rationing the air and squeezing the aperture. We don't want that. Again, if you look at yourself whistling or blowing an air pattern in the mirror, you'll notice that the opening you have in your lip isn't going to be changing. If it does, hardly noticeable. And this is very important for us to use when we're playing the horn. Another thing that is going to help you is establish a good finger rhythm. And what I would do a combination of tonguing and fingering exercises. So it would be like this. And this is especially good to do on the pickup to the last line and all through that last line, getting great finger rhythm. I'm going to start with that pickup D to the last line. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Develop a really good sense of finger rhythm and timing. Now I'm going to do that a little faster now. 2 and 3 and 4. Then when I get the finger rhythm where I want it, I'll slur and make myself honest. Once I do that, I will try to get it up to the tempo that I want. And then once I get that, I just add the tongue. Next, let's talk about developing a very fast tongue. One of the things that we can do to help us is, first of all, use a much shallower vowel. Instead of going O, thinking an ah or a sound. And when you do that, you'll notice that the tongue, when you go like an A, the tongue is slightly elevated in the oral cavity. It's about halfway up, so that instead of the tongue being on the lower part of the floor and doing this, now the whole tongue is elevated, and you can just use the very tip of the tongue, the tip 1/4 inch, almost as if you're saying the syllable D. D, 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 D. And as you say D, if you inch your tongue slightly forward, where the D turns into a T, D, 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 D. Yeah, that you get that little high enunciation to T, 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 and use that where you're only working with the tip 1/4 inch of your tongue. And I would do some fast tonguing exercises to do this, and I'll show you. I'm setting my metronome to 85 for right now. And what I would do, I would start on 16th note patterns. First, I'll do 1 pair, then I'll add another one so that I'll end on the second half of the beat. Then I'll add the 4th one. And notice that my 4th note is going to end right before the click. Then go on to 5. Then 6. And when I do this, the air really isn't stopping. The tongue is slicing across the never-ending air column. Then I'll go to 7. And again, notice I'm stopping right before the second half of the click. Then I'll add another one. Add another one. Then we have 8. Then continuous. Even then I was starting to get just a little bit sluggish. Take it at this tempo, or even if you want to move it slower, that's fine. Then you gradually get it to the tempo where you want this particular exercise to be, so that you're practicing all these fast tonguing passages nice, cleanly, and efficiently. Just like that, nice and easy. Slur it, getting good finger rhythm, and then after that, just put in the tongue with it. With regards to form on this particular exercise, I would be prepared to go back to the very beginning. This exercise is short enough, and they just might want to see if you can keep up the tongue. This concludes this particular clinic. I appreciate you watching. I hope you've gotten some really good tips and strategies from this, and I hope that you'll be extremely successful with this. Again, it's been my pleasure making these for you, and good luck. Thank you.